All right, welcome friends to another attempt at making one of these YouTube videos. This one today is going to be a reaction of Blazing Saddles. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It was, I can't remember exactly which year it came out. It was in the 70s, but I want to say 77 or 78, somewhere around there. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, which we don't currently have, but we will at some point be adding that. But at any rate, was written by Richard Pryor, who is a black gentleman who's one of the smartest, fastest, wittiest, brilliant stand-up comics of all time. Some of his stuff is just literally the stuff of legend. But he was in a whole bunch of movies all through that 70s and the 80s. He was in one of the Superman movies too. But his best talent, he was kind of a decent actor. His real talent was writing, comedic writing particularly. He wrote this along with what I would call the God King of all comedy. Forever, there will never be anyone as smart as the other person who wrote this movie, and that is Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks is a Jewish gentleman who fought in World War II against the Nazis, and hated what Hitler did to his people, and decided that the best way to fight Hitler and racism was to constantly ridicule the ever-living hell out of both of those things. And he made that kind of his life's work. One of the products of that was this movie called Blazing Saddles, about a town of really stupid white people who, through a very strange series of circumstances, end up with a black sheriff. There's government corruption, there's local thuggery, there's all kinds of things. And towards the end of this movie, they're trying to figure out a way to stop the gangs of bandits and thieves from destroying the town of Rockridge. And Sheriff Bart, who is that man right there, and the Waco Kid, his sidekick, decide to have a meeting of townspeople in the middle of the night to discuss how they're going to go about solving this little problem. So, without further ado, let's dive in.
All right, folks, I know you're a bit confused, wondering what you're doing out in the middle of the prairie in the middle of the night.
You bet your ass.
I'm here. Now, before the sun comes up, we're going to build on this site an exact replica of the town of Rockridge.
They're like, nah.
Every building, every storefront, every rock, and every tree, right down to the orange roof on Howard Johnson's outhouse.
This guy. This guy. The few times that he shows up in the movie, he's either an ass kisser or he's just one of those people that just exist to spout useless dialogue. But the guy who they got to play him, and I can't remember the actor's name at the moment, is absolutely brilliant in the small bits that he does. It's just...
Get it. And tomorrow, when Hedley Lamar and his men come riding in to destroy the real Rockridge, they'll actually be destroying the fake Rockridge. But they'll think that it's the real Rockridge, but we'll know that it's the fake Rockridge.
How are we gonna do it? We ain't got the time and we ain't got the people.
Wrong.
There's
why.
Who the hell are they?
Railroad workers. They've agreed to help us make our dream come true. And all they asked in return is a little plot of land they can call their own, the homestead. Now, what do you say?
They're not having it.
All right, we'll give some land to the niggers and the chinks, but we don't want the Irish.
That is one of the funniest lines in a movie ever written. Because as you expect, obviously, most people would expect, given the history of things in this country, that they would say the black people and the Chinese people, whatever, okay? Well, they don't. And you're like, no, those people are fine. The people we really don't want are them damned Irish. Those damned drunken Irish. I love this movie. At any rate, it almost kind of, I know it's a joke and it's, you know, and whatever, but it's almost kind of like evidence that the real issue is not skin color, and it never really has been. The issue is culture. And I'm going to do a series of videos historying that, or I should say historying, excuse me, discussing the history of that, the writings of the amazingly brilliant Thomas Sowell, the economist, talking about the history of those different issues. But think of it as the whole movie exists to pillory and make mockery of racism, because racism is stupid. It's just stupid. But racism, what it really is hating somebody based on the color of their skin, and that's it, and nothing else. And most racism is not like that. Oh, it used to be. Oh, it used to be. Decades ago. And that's kind of what this movie is making fun of, because at the time. But in modern times, what it really is culture. I live in a neighborhood full of black people who are wonderful, wonderful people. They got nicer homes than I do. They've earned them. They've worked their asses off to get them. And they don't really want to have anything to do with the other side of town, which is over on the far north side of this town, that has all the crime in it. And that crime is by white people and black people, and I'm sure some other people. It ain't about skin color. Never has been. Yes, people did judge entire races based upon the skin color because they saw the culture of these people and they were like, I don't want no part of that. And then they judged the entire people who look like that based upon that. And that is racism. Right? But what the issue really is two things: economic competition for jobs. And that's a whole nother subject that's going to require a deep dive into. But also, it's just culture. Most black people aren't generally fond of criminal black people, in the same way that most white people aren't particularly fond of lower income, what you might call hillbilly is a term you two probably won't like. Let's just say the word white and a few spaces after that, trash. Okay? It's not about skin color, never has been. It's about culture. And that's kind of one of the things I love about this movie so much, is it makes such a good example of that. And that you can tell that the Waco Kid and Sheriff Bart are best friends. That was in it. They have been since the beginning of the movie. And even these people, they're like, I don't really know. And then they think about it for a second. They're like, all right, I got no problem with the black people and the Asian people. But the white people, who we think are trash, the Irish, because of stereotypes, incorrect, but stereotypes about, drunken behavior, criminal behavior and whatnot, they're like, we don't want no part of that. And it's kind of like, it's just a beautiful example of what the real issue is and always has been. It's a matter of certain people who are at the middle to higher range of society. They don't want their stuff stolen by the lower range of society. That's basically what it is. Skin color after that is irrelevant. Okay? It's the same thing. I'm sure if you go over to China, there's moderate to rich Chinese people that don't want anything to do with the poor people because they think, rightly or wrongly, they think those poor people might take their stuff or want to take their stuff. Same thing in every culture around the world. There's a lot of TV shows I watch have to do with Africa and Southeast Asia and things of that nature. Middle East and history and all kinds of things, because I watch a lot of stuff. And it's the same thing. It's not about skin color. Never has been. At any rate.
Everybody. No deal.
Oh, prairie shit. Everybody.
Oh, Lord! Do we have the strength to carry on this mighty task in one night? Or are we just jerking off?
Amen. At any rate, I highly recommend this movie. It's one of the funniest things you will ever watch. When I eventually figured out how to put a link in the chat and put a chat on there and a bunch of other things, we'll get to that point. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, go out and watch it. It'll change your life. It really will. So, anyway, that's all I have for today. Ta-ta for now, baby.